I had no friends in grade school. Forcing friendship never works, it pushes people away. The more I tried, the worse it got. I had trouble with eye contact too, staring at the ground, mumbling half sentences. I was about to give up on friendship altogether until about 6th grade. That's when Zach moved in across the street. Zach was instantly popular at school. Even the older kids liked him. He had this strange magnetic charisma that's hard to explain. He had a pet rat named Spots that would sit up on his shoulder like a parrot. You felt better around Zach. You felt important. Of course I wanted to be his friend, but I was me. Then, about a month into 6th grade, he invited me over to his birthday party. Basically, the entire class was there, so I assumed his parents forced him, but a week later he asked me over again. We played Super Mario and watched Star Trek. Everyone seemed nicer to me after that. Zach navigated all the social cliques of middle school with zero effort. Nerds, jocks, goths, etc. But despite the fact he could spend his time with anybody, Zach spent almost all his free time with me. Told me I was somebody he could talk about stuff with. He never felt the need to impress me. Looking back, Zach was far more than just a friend to me. He gave me confidence. He made me feel like I mattered. Before I met Zach, I could barely even make eye contact with people. Now, I wasn't alone anymore. I was Zach's best friend, and because of it, 6th grade was the best year of my childhood. That summer, Zach's parents got divorced. He was going to move cross-country with his mother, 1,839 miles away. He spent his last Sunday at my place. We ate breakfast cereal at noon and played Mortal Kombat. I remember Zach sitting there, his pet rat perched up on his shoulder. We didn't talk about him moving away. I figured it wasn't much of an issue for him. He'd make new friends, and I'd go back to being the weird, lonely kid. I felt a slow building dread that whole day, like I was pushing closer and closer to the edge of a bottomless pit. When Zach was gone, everything would go back to being miserable. When that realization finally hit me, I paused the game mid-fight and half ran to washroom. I turned on the fan to cover up the noise, sat down on the edge of the bathtub and cried. I felt stupid for crying, ashamed. Then I heard a knock. It was Zach. He asked if I was okay. I wiped my tears, washed my face, and opened the door. I remember Zach stood there. He looked deeply concerned, like a kind older brother. I fell against him, and we hugged. An overwhelming sense of calm washed over me. Zach told me not to worry, told me that everything would be okay. That's when I noticed the blood. Pushing back, I blinked in confusion. It was all over his shirt, his hands. His expressions were strange, his face cycling through different emotions, like an actor prepping for a big scene. He grabbed my hands and started wiping blood onto them. I don't remember feeling scared. I remember feeling like I'd wake up any second. It was oddly calm at first, until Zach started screaming. Screaming at me. He was pleading with me not to hurt him, begging for his life. My mind spun into a shocked daze as he ran upstairs, yelling for help all the while. I drifted out into the room, noticing a pair of bloody scissors laying on the ground. Spots the rat was nailed to the dry wall and cut open like a dissected lab specimen. I felt like throwing up, but I didn't even scream. I felt disconnected from it all. I snapped out of the daze when Zach rushed downstairs with my dad. Dad was looking at me like I was an insane person. I tried to respond, but words didn't come out, only mumbled incoherence. My dad told Zach to go upstairs where it's safe. I passed out from shock. I woke up, handcuffed, to a hospital bed. My dad was there, and a police officer. They asked me why I killed the rat, why I threatened to kill Zach. I tried to explain what actually happened, but I was in the washroom. Zach knocked on the door. He was covered in blood. He wiped the blood on my hands. He started screaming. He framed me. All of this only made me sound crazy. Of course, Zach already explained the entire story, only he switched our roles. He told them I threatened to kill him if he moved away. Zach was a pathologically convincing actor. He made me doubt my own sanity. He moved away after that, but it wasn't the last time I saw him. From then on, I spent my childhood in and out of juvenile delinquent counseling services. Everyone in town knew me as the crazy kid who slit open a pet rat and threatened to kill the school hero for moving away. Everyone, even my own parents, believed Zach's side of the story. I quickly learned to stop trying to convince people. They just thought it was part of the delusion. Something that always haunts me was the fact Zach really liked that stupid rat. He owned it for the last 2 years, even trained it to do tricks. I got over a lot of things, but I never got over the fact he murdered something he cared about just to fuck me over. I saw Zach 1 year after that. My counselor organized the meeting to help with my reintegration. At that point, I'd basically accepted my defeat. I just wanted these nightmarish counseling sessions to end. I told Zach I was deeply sorry and said I was trying to be a better person. Zach listened with deep intent. After I finished speaking, he told me to look him in the eyes. I looked up, and he forgave me. I almost burst into tears, but I held it back. As horribly twisted this whole situation was, I remember feeling better after that. It was like part of me had bought into Zach's version of reality. I know it's fucked up, but I actually felt grateful. Days later, the gratitude turned back into dread. Zach's forgiveness was just another part of his game. I've been recovering ever since. I spent my teens and 20s trying everything from trauma therapy to weird spiritual healing. Some of it helped a bit, but the fear was still there, like white noise. It gets quieter sometimes, but it never goes away. Of course, I had clinical depression, anxiety, PTSD, and severe trust issues. Everyone close to me believes I'm a repressed, violent psychotic. This hurt the most. I'm pacifist at heart. I always hated violence of any kind. I still catch spiders and let them outside instead of killing them. To be thought of as an animal killing, sociopath is. I still have trouble breathing when I think about it. Sometimes I feared I'd become the monster he painted me as. A vengeful rage festered in the back of mind for about 8 years straight. Thankfully, things got better after 30. I met Natalie in my late 20s. It took a while for me to accept it, but she's one of the only people in the world who believes my side of the story. She even encouraged me to search for Zach, setting the record straight. I told her I already looked for him, but couldn't find him. That was a lie. I knew exactly where Zach lived. I even knew his job. A drunken night stalking through Facebook led me to his page. I was so close to sending him a message, a rage-fueled drunken rant, but I didn't. To be honest, part of me was still scared of him. Figured it was better to just live my life and let the past stay back there. Things got better once I accepted that. Sometimes I went entire days without even thinking about the incident. The white noise was getting quieter. Then I ran into Zach. I still don't know if it was an insane coincidence or intentional. Either way, I hid my face and walked in the other direction. He called after me. I kept walking. He called again, and I walked faster. "I'm sorry," he yelled, his voice strained with years of painful self-reflection. I looked back over my shoulder. We grabbed a coffee after that. Zach told he was in town for a business trip. What are the chances of us running into each other? Small world, huh? Said he'd been trying to find me for years, but never could. Said what happened was the biggest regret of his life. He told me the truth. Zach moved around a lot as a kid. I thought it was funny to make friends with lonely outcasts and mess with them right before moving away. What he did to me was by far the worst, though. Said he enjoyed doing it at the time. It was thrilling. Told he was diagnosed with adolescent psychopathic tendencies. It's a real thing. I looked it up. It's when people engage in sociopath behavior as a kid, but they grow out of it in their late teens. That, or they just get better at hiding it. He offered to compensate me financially. He is a stockbroker now. I refused. He asked if I could ever forgive him. I thought about it for a few long moments before speaking, and told him that the only way I'd ever forgive him was if he told everyone the truth. My family, his family, everyone from our childhood. He turned more pale with each passing word. Another long silence passed. He nodded yes, told me he'd need a bit of time to get some things in order before doing that. I understood. We made awkward small talk for a little while after that. Things seemed to be going relatively well for both of us. He was married, with 2 kids, a nice house, and an overpriced car. I told him I'd just gotten engaged to my girlfriend Natalie. I didn't tell him about my past 3 suicide attempts. Part of me felt bad for him, but I wasn't naive enough to trust him. But he seemed like a broken man trying to redeem his past. It was sad. We left on awkward terms, but I felt some relief. Maybe I'd finally get some closure. That being said, something felt off. It felt like Zach was hiding something. I still can't believe the odds of us running into each other. Nothing happened for about a month after. It wasn't surprising. He seemed hesitant about actually doing what it took to earn my forgiveness. I didn't really blame him either. He'd been lying to people for his entire life. Telling the truth was going to have consequences. To be honest, I didn't even really care either way anymore. Then I got a phone call at 3 a.m. It was Zach. He apologized for calling so late and told me he couldn't sleep. He needed my forgiveness. He was scared his mind was slipping back into old habits. Years of therapy straining to hold back his worst aspects. I told him I could say the words, "I forgive you," but it wouldn't mean anything. He needed to confess what he did, not just to me, to everyone. He told me he couldn't do it. There was too much running on his business, his family. He couldn't risk ruining that. I hung up on him. It was obvious he never really changed all that much. Asking forgiveness without changing anything is one of the most selfish things a person can do. He called a few times after that, but I never answered. I changed my number after the 5th call. I never told Natalie about my encounter with Zach. Looking back, this is one of my biggest regrets. A few months passed when I got an unexpected phone call from my dad. He was choked up, told me Zach called him, confessed everything. He tried to apologize for not believing me. I hung up mid-sentence. I remember standing there for a good minute, genuinely shocked that Zach actually confessed. A few others tried reaching out to me over that week. Zach must have been contacting every single person involved. I ignored them all. The only person I cared about was Zach now. My curiosity grew as I researched his name online once more. Ever since he confessed, his entire life seemed to be falling apart. His marriage was on the brink of divorce. His business was on the verge of going bankrupt. Part of me felt bad for him, but I must confess, the other part of me felt satisfied. Part of me wanted his life to get even worse. Despite my worst instincts, Zach did meet my conditions. I decided to give it a few more weeks before I called him up and forgave. It all felt surreal. A few weeks passed, and I never called Zach. I didn't care anymore. Knowing his life was ruined made me feel better. I never felt happier. I knew it wasn't healthy, but it felt good getting back at him. Maybe I wasn't such a good person after all. Natalie found out about Zach soon enough. She was mad I lied to her, understandably, said I should probably forgive him, After all, he did confess. She said forgiveness was the only way to truly move on from this nightmare. I knew she was probably right, but I wasn't ready yet. I needed more time. We still haven't resolved this, but we agreed to disagree. Looking back, Zach never cared about forgiveness. He just wanted to escape guilt. 3 months later, I came home from work to find Natalie at the dining room table. It was odd because she usually wasn't home till 8. She was hunched over, face down. Then I stepped in something. Breakfast cereal all over the floor. Grabbing her by the shoulders, I turned her over. We tend to skew memories when going through traumatic events. For a few seconds, I thought someone had replaced her with a dummy. Maybe it was just an awful prank. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but for at least 10 seconds, it felt real. Then I snapped out of it, checked her breath, nothing, her pulse, nothing. The paramedics declared her dead on arrival. The police came too. Of course, I was an immediate suspect. I almost told them it was Zach, but I stopped myself. Wait for a lawyer. Still, I didn't even know the cause of death, and my thoughts were already running wild. Maybe Zach was trying to frame me again. Maybe he killed my fiancée and was trying to get revenge for me, ignoring his calls. I laughed at the cruel absurdity of it all. Thank God for modern-day forensics. The crime scene was sloppy. They swabbed multiple samples of Zach's DNA from my house, found traces of abrin poison in Natalie's autopsy, searched Zach's place, and found records of him purchasing abrin on the black market. They even found journal entries of him rambling about the fact I didn't return his call. The fact he ruined his life for my forgiveness, and I never forgave him. He was terrified of his psychopathic tendencies returning. He went to jail for the rest of his life, scheduled for lethal injection. When my friends and family finally learned the truth about Zach, they felt awful. I didn't really care what they thought anymore. Natalie was the only person who believed me. Natalie knew who I really was. She didn't need a confession from Zach to realize the truth. Natalie was gone. All other opinions were meaningless. Zach was lethally injected a few months ago. Okay, I bent the truth on a couple things. Zach and I didn't run into each other by chance. I'd been stalking him for years, studying him. At first, I wanted him to confess everything. I wanted everyone to know I wasn't the monster he said I was. After he confessed, I felt nothing. If anything, I felt worse. Confession wasn't enough. I wanted to ruin his life the same way he ruined mine. I spent my whole life obsessing over that one moment. Nothing else mattered. My friendships, my job, even Natalie. I wanted closure. Framing Zach for murder was surprisingly easy. All the evidence pointed to him. Months of manic, phone call confessions to people from his past, his violent history exhumed from the dead, me ignoring his increasingly desperate phone calls. Even his rambling journal entries wrote about getting revenge on me for not forgiving him. It was simple enough to plant his DNA in my own house, buy poison on the black market. Zach barely even fought the accusations in court. He was already such an emotional mess by that point. Even his own lawyers pushed him to plead guilty. The prosecution had everything: evidence, testimony, motive. I wish Natalie didn't have to go, but it was inevitable. Deep down, I knew she never believed me anyways. Sure, I was able to lie to myself all those years, but I knew she doubted me. Everyone always doubted me. I could see it in their eyes. Sure, I could have just murdered Zach, but that wasn't enough. I needed him to feel what I felt. I needed closure. I met with Zach 1 week before his execution. Looking through the glass, I could tell he was scared, facing down a monstrous man who killed someone he loved just to spite someone he hated. Unable to cope with the absurd extremity of my actions, he felt the same way I did back then, only tenfold. He begged me to tell the truth, begged me to save his life. His own family ignored him now. His own children thought he was a monster. Eventually, his begging turned to rage. He said I framed him, called me a psychopath, said I was far worse than he ever was. I just sat there, listening, waiting till he ran out of steam. When he finally shut up, I told him to look me in the eyes. Snivelling and red-faced, he looked up. I forgave him.